I decided to revisit Vermintide 2 because there's been a lot of changes to the game since last I played, and it was probably, I don't know, at least over a year ago. Some of them are fairly exciting, and if you haven't tried this one before, now's probably a good time to jump in. Hello, this is Robert with Society Case Files, just checking out another Warhammer video game. If you enjoy this content and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, don't forget to drop a like. Let's dive right in. Vermintide 2 was released back in 2018. Since then, they've added a ton of DLC, including new levels, careers, and different ways to play the game. Each of the characters has 4 available professions now, 2 of which have to be unlocked through leveling, and 1 that costs real-world money. There are also a bunch of new ways to play the game beyond the normal player versus environment thing. We've got a versus mode now, where some people take on the role of the rats, a roguelite kind of thing, where you got to go as far as you can through various levels. And then there's a wave-based brawl sort of event that's kind of been abandoned, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Suffice to say, it might look the same as when it came out in 2018, but it's gone a lot further since then. Let's start with some basics about the game. Leveling goes beyond 30 now. While your talents stop there, you can still attain chests for leveling up. And there's a scorecard that shows whatever level you are, and then a second number, which lets people know how many times you've gone around, kind of like a prestige, I guess. And I think that's kind of cool. It's a neat little feature to show off how much you've done in the game, or at least how much you've played that particular character. For me, it would just show off a lack of diversity on which characters I play, but that's my own problem. Each of the new characters has a new premium career they can use. Marcus has a Grail Knight, which basically gives him a shield and a big-ass haymaker attack to do a bunch of damage. Barden has an engineer class, which he gets a Gatling gun and some more bombs than before. Carillion can be a more magic-based profession. She'll have access to like this thorn wall and some poison powers. Now that I did try. I tried her special thing way back in the day. Didn't really care for it then. Saltspire has the Warrior Priest of Sigmar available to him. So he's kind of like a paladin with a big mystic shield to reduce damage and a new fury trait that gives him bonus damage when he fires it up. And then finally, Sienna can be a necromancer, which allows her to summon up a bunch of skeletons and leech people's health. She can send the skeletons out, command them. It's actually pretty cool. I picked up the necromancer profession for $2. It was on sale, but they're normally only 4, so not too bad. There are also a few new levels for the PvE mode, just some new arenas to fight and with different objectives and that sort of thing, and they slip right into the standard rotation for quick play. Popularity seems to have surged a little bit with that versus mode too. The peak players in the last 30 days has gone up to over 20,000, with the average showing to be just around 3,000. It's never gone much below 1,800 for this year, which means that at least plenty of people are playing, depending on time of day and such. And of course, there's console. I'm not sure if this is cross-platform. I didn't check. But anyway, let's talk about the things that were new to me coming back to it today. These might be old hat to players that have been with it the whole time. So I apologize, but I mean, I'm revisiting, so it's me. The Weave. The Weave is this thing that I'd seen in the advertisements, this Winds of Magic and stuff, and I really didn't get it, and I think you kind of have to play with it to understand it. You basically go into an arena, you fight a bunch of monsters for a commodity, in this case it's called Essence, and then you proceed through to a final stage with a bunch of bosses. You're doing all this to earn a currency, which allows you to upgrade the overall aspect of the Weave, which is sort of this I guess, hub where you buy upgrades to your weapons. It gives you access to different weapons. And that means, of course, that you're not using the gear that you picked up during your PvE stuff. So if you're accustomed to some kind of build with it, you're going to have to get there by upgrading the Weave. You use also the Essence to temper or upgrade that gear that you've unlocked. And that will, of course, or at least potentially make Weave runs easier. However, you do have your normal difficulties, recruit all the way up. And so if it's too hard, you can just drop it down a little bit if you want. When it comes to upgrading the gear, you basically go into another screen and it shows the whatever piece of equipment you want to mess with. And it's got a number of things that you spend temper or Weave or Essence, whatever the heck it's called. And these upgrades provide access to properties like bonus against Skaven or an improvement to your crit power. There are 10 things to unlock with a trait in the middle that unlocks when you level the weapon to 8, which basically those are the legendary traits that you're accustomed to. And even though you might level your item up to that level, you still have to get a whole bunch of weave to unlock the many options that are available to put in there. So while I do have level 8 dual daggers, it doesn't really matter because I haven't leveled up the overall weave high enough to unlock any of the traits to put on there. And a final complication to worry about is the fact that even though you might have unlocked a lot of the points, there are only so many times you can buy a specific trait. So like my bonus versus Skaven, it costs 10 points to put the first one in and then 20 for the next one and so on. But even if I wanted to dump tons of them in there, there's only a set number of times you can apply it before you run out of those. I think it was 5 or 6. It's a reasonable system for grinding, and it makes sense that they wanted this to be the end game, especially if you got up to level 30 and you really didn't have anything else to do. I could say that when I played it on veteran difficulty, we got stomped by the bosses at the end, which is fine. There's like 3 or 4 of them, and that was my first time through, so all my gear was complete crap, and I kind of expected it. There are a couple of small gripes. I kind of wish the screen wasn't desaturated. It's just sort of annoying. I know they're trying to generate an atmosphere, and that leads to my second concern, which is there's this weird noise that goes on through the whole time. Not quite a whisper, just a strange ambiance, and I don't know. I don't really like it. But it is a different way to play the game. And unfortunately, it seems that it has been mostly abandoned by Fat Shark. I looked into it a little, and I guess they hoped for it to be really big and something that people did for a long, long time. But the places that I found talking about it pretty much stated that it has been left behind. And the only folks that really care about it are the folks that are making these pre-made parties and just testing their might, so to speak. They hop in and do the hardest stuff and see if they can come out on top. Anyway, it probably doesn't do a whole lot for you other than offer a respite from the other parts of the game. And while maybe Fat Shark gave up on it, the players didn't, because when I tried it, I had no problem finding a full party. So also, it does rely on bots if you just want to try it and have some fun. All right, let's move on to the Chaos Wastes. This is a roguelite mode where you basically travel through different zones, encountering random challenges and trying to reach the end. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Call of Duty Zombies mode. Not the big open world version they've got out these days, but like the old wave-based one. And while this isn't quite the same, it does have things like these floating symbols that you can buy special upgrades that will help you guys throughout the mission. And there's these random challenges that bring out waves of big monsters and that kind of thing. Just like the Weave, you've got a new leveling system, a different currency, a bunch of stuff to buy, boons, that kind of thing, in between the different parts of the adventure. So you basically do like a zone, and then it zooms out to a map, and then you pick which path you want to go. You and the other players vote on which one you want to go through. There's some stats about them. I'm not sophisticated enough to know what they mean yet. I'm probably going to play this one a bit more because it was actually pretty darn cool. Throughout the adventure, there are points where you go and it just lets you do upgrades instead of actually go to an arena to fight stuff. So that was kind of cool too. You still get PvE chests, the stuff that you get at the end of everything, and that does contribute to your overall PvE character. So even though your regular gear doesn't translate to the Chaos Wastes, the stuff you can pick up from the event itself will help you when you just play the normal game. I have to be honest, I prefer this mode over all the others, including PvE. I just thought it was a lot of fun, and it was just chaotic and crazy. It did have a bit more of a time commitment, unless you die super fast, I guess. And quite honestly, we did. We only made it to the 3rd arena, and we got wiped, and that kind of sucked. But I would definitely do it again. I had a great time with it. Not that any of the modes in this game are super short. In fact, most of them take at least a half an hour. So it kind of sucks if you lose because you pretty much get nothing for that time, which honestly is a lot like Darktide. But in any event, this game has more options for how you want to play, and many of them do take much longer than your regular PvE game. It's just a bigger time commitment. Let's talk about some microtransactions. Yay, right? Okay, anyway. Um, there are quite a few things you can buy now with both real world money and they call them shillings. You can earn those in the game. The most expensive thing I saw was $30 and it included outfits for all of the different characters. Otherwise, you can expect to pay anywhere from $2 to $10 for cosmetic items. They include the DLC in the store as well, just to make it easy for you to give them more cash. That includes the cosmetic upgrades as well. It's kind of funny actually that you can get the warrior priest for $2, but his cosmetic upgrade is $4.50. It almost seems like they just wanted to charge $10, but someone said, "No, we can, let people who don't care about cosmetics get them for cheaper." Whatever your opinion is on microtransactions, first off, they're probably justified. But in this case, it is all cosmetic. I didn't find anything that was actually helping you do any gameplay stuff other than looking cool. And I guess, now that I say that, I could argue that allowing me to play Sienna as a necromancer and charging me is kind of a pay to win because it is really nasty and I had a great time with it. And it was a lot easier than her normal blow people up modes, for me at least. But I mean, that's probably debatable. Anyway, let's move on to the versus mode. That's the new thing that just came out recently. Basically, it's two teams. The heroes are just like they are in PvE mode. They're trying to get from point A to point B. They got a whole bunch of stuff they've got to do. They can revive each other if they fall down. And the rats can endlessly respawn. So there's no getting that rat back up, but it doesn't matter because he'll be running around in less than 30 seconds every single time. The side that scores the most points wins. Pretty simple overall. You score points by killing the enemies, stopping them from advancing. There's a whole bunch of different ways to score actually. So if you're interested, you'll probably just want to read the tutorial because I found it to be slightly confusing. And that is even more so in the fact that I had picked my hero. I went to the board to play. I was going to play Curlian as an assassin. Then the game started up and I was in a Overwatch style character select screen, having to pick which one I wanted to play. And since I wasn't really paying attention because I figured I'd already done that, someone else got Corellian before I could. And then I was not as effective because I'm a terrible player who doesn't play more than one or two characters. Anyway, I still did my best. But that initial character selection didn't matter anyway because I ended up starting off as the rats. You learn a lot playing as one of them. They're first off very weak. They can get taken out very quickly. But they're still pretty unfair. At one point, we had at least two, and I think it might have been three rattling gunners, and we absolutely obliterated the heroes in seconds. We had high ground. They couldn't go anywhere. We tore them up, and it was just over. It's not super hard for the heroes to do well, providing that there isn't some insanely unfair rat configuration that they have to go against. If they're remotely coordinated, they've got a pretty good shot at finishing the map without too much trouble. At least that's what I have seen. My time on the hero side, we were well ahead of the enemy into the second round as far as score was concerned, and they just couldn't catch up. So that was crazy. There's a special ranking system for versus play, just like the other ones, and in this case, your character levels up in the PvE side as well. So whichever character you pick is gonna advance as well. Pretty cool. I think the rounds are too long myself. It went on and just felt like one team had enough points to make it nearly impossible to catch up pretty early on. I'd personally prefer a streamlined, faster experience, but hey, it's also a bit deeper as a result. And anyway, my ADD playstyle can be accommodated in any number of other games, so this gripe is all on me. It's definitely a different way of playing the game all around, and it could be fun if you're into a little competition. I got a little more frustrated than I probably should have because players are so much more clever than the AI with the way they use the special baddies. And not that I don't think it could be a lot of fun, and I know I'm just being a wimp, but I just kept getting the feeling that I was being trolled, and that was completely unfair. I know for a fact that wasn't happening. That was just the feeling I got while playing it. And as a result, I'd really rather just try the Chaos Wastes myself. I thought that was more fun. I really prefer the co-op aspect of this game. That's kind of why I'm here. So the versus mode, even when I saw it, before I even tried it, I was like, ooh, that just doesn't really sound like something I'm interested in. Again, I love working with the team, not necessarily messing with the team. And all that said, I'm not saying it wasn't fun to be a rat, because it certainly was. But that's, just part of the thing. Conclusion. All around, Vermintide 2 is definitely worthy of a revisit. It's a lot of fun and has plenty to do. There's way more than ever before. Any gripes I have are minor. The fact you can't sprint drives me a little crazy. And every time you change game modes, you have to cancel a cinematic, and it's the exact same one each time. Very minor complaints. They hardly matter when the game is this great. I definitely recommend a second look, or if this is your first time, it's on sale as of this recording and definitely worth it. And even if it's not, go and check Cheap Shark and see if you can get a copy for less than the retail price. Anyway, what do you think of Vermintide 2? Have you been playing all this time, or are you going back for versus mode? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks very much for watching the video. I'll see you next time. Bye now.